Hello team and welcome back to the Process Programming Update Show, where we dive into the leaderboards of the Process Programming Open Throwdown. We have 6 divisions. We have the Scale Division, male and female. We have the RX Open Division, male, female. And we have our Masters Division, gentlemen and ladies over the age of 35. My name is Ed Haynes, and joining me in the studio today is Mr. Alex Younger.
Hello everyone.
We are going to start with our scaled male division. We'll move to female division. Then we'll move into the RX Open categories. And then we will finish with the Masters categories. Al, you ready to rock and roll?
So ready.
Firstly, a massive shout out to our sponsors who support us in making these kind of productions and these kind of events actually happen. So thank you so much to New Fitness Asia. Thank you to Dream Pod and as well to Biltong Chief. We really appreciate your support and love you guys. Okay, we begin with the scaled male division. Mr. Younger, why don't you take us away, starting with 3rd place, working our way up to 1st place after week 2 of the CrossFit Open. Can I just say real quick, it was a 2-part workout. Did you foresee that coming?
No, actually. I thought they would all be singular this year. Don't know why.
And how do you feel about the max lift coming back in?
I think it's a good test. It separates the field a little bit. It allows stronger people to excel in certain areas, depending on what the lift is. But I think it does allow for a little bit more of a spread on the leaderboard itself.
Yeah, and I think a lot would argue a more balanced set of tests. Yeah. And I think for you, this probably felt like redemption.
It's the band has started already. Nice. We'll talk about Ed's muscle ups in week 1 soon. Don't worry.
So sorry, just some background information for people tuning in. Al, who's a strong man at the gym, got outlifted by me, the weakest individual in the gym in last year's Open, and I think he was licking his lips because it was redemption for him this year. And
yeah, but I had to get through 15 minutes of me shuffling along the floor first.
That's true. That's true. Anyhow, we digress. Back to the agenda. So the male scale division in 3rd place.
Great first name, Alex Chung in 3rd place. The point spread actually between 5th, 4th, and 3rd are really tight for this one in the scale division. So Alex is holding on to that 3rd place for now.
So a little shout out to Al. He's actually been doing the RX workouts as well as the open work. So he's been doing the RX workout on a Saturday at Coastal Fitness, comes back in on a Monday to do the scale division. So I think this might be the last year we're going to see Mr. Cheng in the scale division. But
first year though, doing CrossFit.
It is his first year. So super impressive how quickly he's progressing, and just shows a strength and conditioning background can take you a really long way in the sport. Yeah. Moving into 2nd place, we have Darwin Tabao. He trains at one of our affiliates, CrossFit Subterra, over in the Philippines. He had a really solid, impressive performance in Part A, taking up 1st place with 180 repetitions, and then hitting 165 pounds on his thruster. And in 1st place, we have our very own Mr. Jamie Tang, trains here in Hong Kong, trains actually out of his school gym where he works as a teacher, Harrow. They have a very beautiful facility. And Jamie, fairly new to CrossFit. Rugby has been his sport for most of his life, but locking in, for those who know rugby, he is a hooker. So to be winning or finishing top 3 in an aerobic workout is very impressive. And then a big thruster at 90 kilograms.
Beat me in the first one.
Okay, so now we move into our scaled female division. Guys, apologies, we don't normally do this, but we made a little mistake. In 3rd place in the women's scale division is Tika. Tika trains over at CrossFit Riverside, one of our affiliates. Well done, Tika, on an awesome 2nd week in the CrossFit Open. 1st place on Part A of the workout, but maybe just losing a bit of strength on losing some positions and some points. I know the feeling very well,
but it's still
Part B.
Pretty tight.
But it's tight.
Pretty tight up there.
There's only a 1-point spread between her and 2nd place, Lenny, who also trains over at Surabaya, our affiliate Tetuka. She has been in that top 3 now 2 weeks in a row. And I know she's also given the RX workouts a crack, which is super cool.
Yeah.
And in 1st place, we have sweet Samantha Dakalan, who trains over at our affiliate in Philippines. Again, the crew over at Subterra with some really strong performances each week. And it's looking like going into our 3rd and final week that, Samantha has a 2-point spread over 2nd place Lenny, and there's a 1-point spread between her and Alan. So I feel like it's all to fight for in the 3rd and final week of the CrossFit Open. Let's now move into our male Masters division. So remember, this is everyone over the age of 35 and above. As the process programming grows, of course, we hope to have more divisions because we're going to have more able-bodied athletes competing. But for now, we're all lumping them into one category. Of course, some would say that's a bit of an advantage for our baby masters like myself who've just snuck in there. But anyhow, let's get into leaderboard. Al, would you like to start by taking us through our top three?
So for our third place, we've actually got a bit of a tie for second place. So without any judgment on who comes first or second when we go through this, but Ed Haynes with a 10th place finish for his thruster, just a reminder. And then we've got Chris Twowson, who is in second, both tied for that second place. And there's not a lot between that third place technically as well.
So we do see that Mr. David Hughes, who was sitting in the top three last week, has dropped, unfortunately, out of that top three. And we see Pete McKee moving up into fourth, but just focusing on the top three, a tie between myself and Mr. Chris Twowson. It is coming down to last week, where we may see some inverted movements, handstand push-ups, wall walks.
Chris has got
wall
this.
walks, and Chris Twowson probably, if I was a betting man, would bet on Chris.
Let's go,
Chris. But let's see how it all boils down in week 3. And at the top of our leaderboard, Mr. Cam Curry, a perennial regionals athlete, very high-level competitor, who is, we talked about last week, kind of taking a bit of a backward step from competing in CrossFit, but decides to just show up when the CrossFit Open rolls around and decides to just crush every single workout. So a really solid score on part A and thrustering 240 pounds for part B.
Big scores up there for the Masters, right? It shows you how competitive that field is now.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially when there's some young guns kind of just sneaking into there now.
Let's move into our Masters female division. And in third place, we actually have a tie. So Kim Grant has moved her way up the leaderboard this week. She trains here at Coastal Fitness.
Impressive.
And is doing the Open with her husband, Lucas. It's so cool to see those two having a crack. Lucas having repeat efforts at each Open workout, which is awesome. Living and learning always. So Kim slides up into third place, where she is now in a tie with Anneli Svensson, who's just coming back from surgery. We talked about this last week. She's currently holidaying over in Thailand and getting her workouts done in the heat, but super cool to see her back into the competitive scenario.
Sweaty over there.
Yes, and Anneli, wrapped up a first place victory on part 2. She is a strong athlete. I know she was licking her lips at the squat clean thruster, or the thruster, sorry, for part B. When we look at our top 2 athletes, these 2 ladies have been in the game for quite some time. In second, we have Steph Kong. Steph is a regional level athlete, qualified as an individual back in the Pacific Regionals days, went as a part of Team CSTL multiple times. So she's a very capable athlete, has taken a few years out of the sport to pop out a couple of children, but she is now back and she feels a fire in her belly. And so it's cool to see her making some steady climbs at leaderboard with some big performances. For
sure. You can see the fire being lit up in a little bit this season in comparison to seasons prior. So it's cool to see that fire kind of back in her.
Yeah, and I do think, it's always hard. We have a lot of mums who, take a year out and come back and get into competing. And it is a very hard transition, knowing the trauma that your body has been through in that period, but also it's very hard not to compare. But knowing your body, exactly, body's going through a healing process. So shout out to all the recent mums or mums full stop who are still hanging out and competing and putting themselves into the arena. It's super, super impressive. And in first place, we have the second fittest woman in the world in her age category, Miss Lee Coates. Again, another very, very solid performance on an aerobic workout, and actually wrapping up a third place slot on part B, which is awesome to see.
I do want to say, if there is handstand push-ups or strict handstand push-ups come out in that final workout, the battle for first and second is going to be really interesting, because they're both good, very good at handstand push-ups.
So when we look at the point spread, we have Lee Coates sitting at 5 points in total. Bit of a gap between her and second place Steph, with 2 points, a 2-point spread, and then a 3-point spread between second and third place, where Anneli and Kim are both tied at 10 points.
All to fight for,
all to play for. Okay, let's move into our Open and RX divisions now. We begin with the males. I'll start this one. So, in third place, he was sitting comfortably in second last week. Unfortunately, has dropped due to a performance on part A.
Walking.
Where Alex speed walked through 15 minutes. But with that said, it's still an impressive score for someone who speed walked.
Yeah.
And
safe to say I haven't been doing the shuttle run prep.
He has been skipping out the shuttle run prep on aerobic Tuesdays and laughing
Just goes
at
to
everyone
show.
doing it.
Just
There you
goes
go.
to show.
But, leaning into where he feels very comfortable, which is a heavy barbell. I know, Al, you actually still felt a bit disappointed with that score.
Yeah. I made the rule this year. It's one and done, and I was definitely fighting some ego and some inner battles of whether to do this one again. Definitely misjudged the lifting and the workout itself. I think if I was to do it again, I would get a positive result on the other side of it. But
yeah, I think you massively underestimated how tiring speed walking can be.
Yeah. It does. Very sore on the hips.
And now we move into second place, Mr. Jonathan Oy, who lives over in Brunei. He's been a part of the process for a good few years now.
Coming for you, Jonathan.
He's there and over in Malaysia with a super impressive Part A and Part B.
Both.
145 reps, just edging out Al, and then hitting a 240-pound thruster, which is super awesome. Strength has been something that he's been working hard on. So cool to see him being able to express under fatigue good numbers. And in first place, perhaps no surprises, we have Mr. Ant Haynes, who wrapped up a really impressive first place on Part A with 164 reps, and then thrustering 266 pounds.
Yeah, I'll say for Ant, we kind of knew that running and in the burpees would be good for him. It's a good combo for him. He's aerobically very gifted, but I think I will say that his thruster is what is most impressive out of everything I've seen from Ant this Open.
Yeah, I do want to do a bit of a shout out to Zion, who locked up first place on the heaviest thruster within the process programming.
Big old thruster.
He thrusted 295 pounds, about 140 kilograms. So super impressive to see
mental.
That weight going up, Zion. Superb work. Okay, let's move into our final division now. We're moving to the RX Open female division. And we have a two-way tie for second place between Adele Quinton Page, who trains here at Coastal. She's a coach in Hong Kong, another gym, CrossFit Typhoon. And Miss Robin Lee Wilson, who trains at one of our affiliates in Bengkel in Jakarta. Super cool to see these two ladies battling out with 8 points each. And in first place, we have Miss Tammy Robinson, who secures first place for 2 weeks in a row. But again, looking at the point spread, there is not too much between them. Tammy sits at the top with 6 points, Adele with 8, Robin with 8. And we have Megan, who also just recently gave birth, sitting just outside of that top 3 spot with 12 points. Again, it's going to be a very interesting final week of the CrossFit Open. Al, thank you so much for joining me in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
For everyone who's been a part of the process programming Open Throwdown, thank you so much for sticking with it. We have one more week to go. We will see you back here next week.
Get ready for handstand push-ups.